This is UKIP I'm learning about now, here on The Trews.
Well, good morning. And what a privilege to address the three great presidents of the European Union on behalf of my group and on behalf of UKIP, which topped the poll in the United Kingdom.
He's been very smug about it, isn't he, old Faragio? He's like literally touching his cup. Oh, well, here we go then. Looks like I got the most votes then, didn't I? Okay, son. He's a bit sort of belligerent and cocky, isn't he?
So imagine my surprise on the 27th of May as I headed to the Conference of Presidents meeting in Brussels where the leaders of all the European groups sat in a room, and I wasn't sure, would they be nice to me? Would they be nasty to me? Would they accept that something fundamental had changed? Oh no, it was business as usual.
Well, enough loud, isn't he? Also, when he's acting all confident and that, you look at him and see he's really... deep down, he's all shy and full of self-doubt. Oh, would have been nice to me, would have been nasty to me, if my winky woo big enough.
And coming from the UK, we didn't even realise that these elections were seen to be significant as far as the next Commission President was concerned. The Tories didn't have a horse in the race. The British Labour Party disowned Martin Schulz. We were pretty unaware of what was going on. A victory for democracy, I'm not sure. The loser, who's the loser? Martin Schulz.
Is this an acceptable piece of body language? He does it a lot, doesn't he? It's like he's flipping over a couple of pancakes.
He's become the President again of the European Parliament.
Martin Schulz!
He then ran into the new golden rule of EU politics, which is when Mrs. Merkel speaks, the other heads of state obey. And the support for us simply melted away. You would have thought when in a hole stop digging, but no, Dave kept on digging away.
When he did that mime, I could imagine him rehearsing this in the mirror. He didn't put his trousers on yet. Oh, probably when I say digging, I'll do a bit of digging.
But no, Dave kept on digging away.
It's a bit more like the intergalactic committees that you see in the modern, less enjoyable Star Wars films, isn't it? Like our Parliament in England, where they're going, and all that green leather and dark wood. I can't handle that at all. This is just a little bit more like sort of a conference room at a service station hotel in South Minns. And welcome to the Swallow Hotel. Nigel Farage is in there, where he's going to be making some light-hearted jokes about the EU.
I must say, as the final vote approached, it began to feel a bit like the Eurovision Song Contest, where it doesn't really matter how good the British entry is, such is the dislike of our country around much of Europe, that we're always going to lose.
Seems a bit petty that Nigel Farage has got a grudge about Eurovision. I know the reason we don't win Eurovision. It's because you don't like us very much. The reason they don't like us very much is because of you, Nigel. If you want to win Eurovision, stop being so racist. Anyway, I happen to have won Eurovision this year.
I wonder what the prospects are now for renegotiation. Well, Mr Juncker...
What are everyone sort of slouched around for? This bloke there looks like he's wanking in his pocket, number 11.
Well, Mr Juncker...
And I don't like the way they've all got a little number as well. It's like a big giant game of real life Guess Who.
In the last vote, we're told he's Juncker the drunker. We're told he's a smoker. My God, isn't that awful?
He thinks he's doing stand-up, doesn't he? Oh, Juncker the drunker, I think he is a smoker. He's like a bad old Eminem.
We've got a referendum coming up at some point in the not-too-distant future in Britain. There is one thing that would convince the British voters to vote to remain part of a European Union, and that is a fundamental treaty change that says we no longer have to accept untramelled access to countless millions of people from across the whole of Europe. We need, and the British people demand, 80% of them want us to get back control of our borders so we can choose who comes to Britain.
See that thing where it goes 80% of people want control over the borders? I think that's just because that argument's stoked up the whole time. I don't think that means that people are all the time wandering around bloody immigrants, bloody immigrants, bloody immigrants. I just think that that's a constantly pushed message, like Coca-Cola's a really popular drink, not because it's so damn delicious, just because that message is out there. Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, alright, Coca-Cola, alright, anti-immigrant, anti-immigrant, alright, anti-immigrant. Did not get enough of the message of it's corporations and big banks that are causing you to be poor. It's affecting your life. You can argue about the degree of impact that immigration has on an individual's life, how it affects the job market, how it affects the economy. What's true though is it don't affect the economy as much as corporations and the financial sector behaving inappropriately and sequestering off the dollar for themselves the whole time. So Like if you lived in a tent and every 5 minutes someone shouted immigrants through the flap of the tent, and then someone goes, "What are you worrying about?" You might go, "Immigrants," and more specifically, someone shouting immigrants. It's just like that, isn't it? Really, so it's just in your consciousness, like a bad jingle. That's what he's like, isn't he? He's like a bad jingle. Their logo looks like a cheap supermarket, and their rhetoric's like a bad jingle.
And for the rest of the EU, I suspect the next 5 years will bring endless misery for the southern Mediterranean Eurozone countries. That perhaps is reflected by the number of Italians we now have in our group. And what have we seen in the last 48 hours? We've seen naked militarism, with the EU flag being virtually goose-stepped round the yard.
Is that like his first speech in Europe, and he said goose-step already? And we didn't like them bloody Nazis, and I think they came from Europe. You come from Europe, Nigel. It's just the name of the bit of planet you live on. Stop worrying.
We've seen the European anthem, and actually, I'll tell you this, we now, the Eurosceptics, are the progressives. These two gentlemen had nothing to say today. It was the usual dirge-like, dull, looking back to a model invented 50 years ago, and we're the ones that want democracy, we're the ones that want nation-state, we're the ones that want a global future for our countries.
The bloke behind him looks really embarrassed.
Not to be trapped inside this museum. Thank you.
Like he's like, wife's pissed at a party. Oh no, stop it. Oh, thank God he sat down.
Mr. Farage, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
I heard is... We were all thinking it. What are you doing here?
Mr. Farage, what are you doing here? What I heard is the speech of the leader of the opposition in the House of Commons. If you want to hold that kind of speech, get elected there.
I like that he's got to wear them headphones now. He's got to sit there like he's wearing a Sony Walkman in 1989 on a night bus and make his notes.
Just to be able to boast as a British citizen who wants to get out of the European Union.
I also don't like seeing that like Union Jack peeking up at the bottom of your screen. I don't like, flags are alright, aren't they? But I don't like it when flags are a bit racist. You know, when you feel like a flag's gone a bit racist. That one on his desk looks like a little bit of a racist flag.
You sound like somebody from the old communist era saying that if anybody else has a different point of view, clearly they're mentally ill or there is something wrong with them. What you're going to have to get used to, all of you, is the idea that across the political spectrum there are now more Eurosceptics in this Parliament than there have ever been.
Do you know what it is? You know, when you go on a school trip and they go, right, while you're on this school trip, you're representing our school, so don't do anything embarrassing. And then you sort of nick something from the museum shop, like some pencils or some rubbers or something like that, or set off a fire extinguisher, and they go, "You've embarrassed the school." I never understood that until I've just seen Nigel Farage in the European Parliament. Now I know why. Don't nick stuff from the museum shop when you're on a school trip, because now I think, oh, don't, when we go to Europe, people will go, that's that Nigel Farage country.
And I'll tell you this, Mr. Lamberts, don't worry too much about my presence, because within the next 5 years, I won't be here. All right?
He's like sort of like a living puppet. Like Jim Henson went temporarily racist and made this odd UKIP creature. Hello? Hello there, well I won't be here. Hello? Oh well, don't worry, because how he feels about European politics, I feel a lot of people feel about politics in general and want a complete devolution of power till power shared equally among people and we all get on and run our own lives, so I wouldn't worry about it too much anyway. That is some truths, that is some truths.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose, if the nose was true. I want some trews, let's have some trews.